Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the darkest timeline, and this week we're talking back to school. Yeah, back to school, it's that time of year. Disciplining children and how that can get flipped on you, I guess. There's some weight loss talk. Baking and cooking conversations, and then there's a lot of computer game talk. Very little TV or movie this week, but a lot of computer game stuff. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one, massive help to the podcast is sharing the podcast around. Even if it's just you might like this, check it out kind of recommendation. It's certainly a big help to us, and we do appreciate it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the darkest timeline. Hello. How you doing? You well? Good. As always, I have to presume that you said yes. I am a man talking to you who has completely gone against everything I said all evening. All afternoon. I did everything I needed to. I was like, I am going to record a podcast early for once. And that way I get my evening back. I can play computer games, play some VR, then have something to talk about on future podcasts. It all ties together really nicely. And then an hour later, here we are. So, nothing changes. Nothing changes but the shoes, as the Wild Arts said. Right, what have we got today? We are in the second week of the school term. All of my children, barring my youngest, have moved up in years. One of them has changed schools. And honestly, it's been difficult. It's been difficult, not for them, but for me. Thinking about this a lot over the last couple of days, and I always remember my mother. We'd get to the back end of the summer holidays. My mother would always be like, I'm sad that the holidays are coming to the end," and she'd tell anybody who would listen how much she loves the holidays and loves having her children at home, and it's just the best. And then she gets real sad when they have to go back to school, which I always thought was really weird because she really couldn't stand me. I do often feel like she had a lot more time for my sister, but yeah, she just couldn't stand me. So I always felt that was a weird thing to say. And then when it was always that sort of thing of she was saying it to other people, I was like, maybe it's just an image thing. Maybe it's like, I want to appear to be a good parent, so I'm going to say this. But it was consistent. And I think towards the back end of school, we sort of started calling her on it. Because I'd be like, I don't see how that works. I've been grounded the entire time. So, yeah, it's been great. And it wasn't until years later when all of that stuff sort of got reviewed and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But anyway, that's a different story. And one that I feel like I've forced upon you. But it's been a difficult start to the school year. Not for my children. I don't think any of them are really struggling with their transition to another year. I am, of course, referring to myself. Somebody said to me last Monday, I think it was, hasn't the summer holidays gone quick? And I said, no, I don't feel like it has. I feel like it's been the slowest summer holidays ever. And they were like, really? Like, yeah. And I think it's because we've done a lot. We've done something every day, especially like time spent with the older children. And we've done like a lot of different things. And those different things sort of made an impact. And I just think, it's been different this year with having my youngest daughter at home during the school holidays, which previously wouldn't have been a thing. Not in that sense, in the sense that she wasn't at school. So it's felt long, and I think that's just because of doing a lot and doing a lot of new things, not repeating old. There's like certain sort of activities and things that we've done previously that we just haven't done. But I've really sort of struggled with my eldest going to a different school, knowing that I just simply wouldn't see her as much on a weekly basis. That's made me very sad. For my youngest daughter, there is very much a transition from what I feel is, this might sound a bit strange, but what I feel is like baby to child. Because now it's that taste of like proper school. I've literally had a conversation the last couple of days about how, like, reception is like nursery plus, whereas year one is school. And my middle daughter has just gone into another year. But where I felt I was going to console myself with not seeing my eldest as much, I was like, I'll still see my middle daughter sort of as much, and then haven't. So it's just been a really, like, I could, for the first time, understand I'm gonna miss them when they go back. My youngest daughter being here a lot more, and then going into like a week or a second week of school, and she's just not here. And it's just like everything's back to normal, which hasn't been amazing. I think the biggest thing has been trying to get to and from the office and being like, yeah, this is what it was like before. And this is even before the students return, which just adds another dimension to travel. That I've realised over the 6 weeks of being able to actually get places at various times of the day. I had a road rage incident. I had a road rage incident this morning. Horrific situation that involved not one but 2 cars. What has to be hands down one of the most amazing maneuvers I've ever seen. A vehicle pulled out on me on a roundabout. I am like, oh, sweet Jesus, what the actual fuck? But I was prepared because it's a common place for cars to just pull out. So I kind of suspected it was going to happen. I didn't suspect was going to happen was when the car then promptly just stopped dead. And I'm like, bad enough that you pulled out on me. Worse that you've just stopped in the middle of the road for what is apparently no reason. So I, being sound mind and body, absolutely lost my shit and was like, just why? Whilst this is going on, somebody who I imagine started their day by brushing their teeth with a bottle of Jack Daniels decided to start swerving between lanes and apparently decided that I was either invisible or was incorporeal, so could clearly drive through me. And no joke, not even remotely exaggerating, there was a point where you could have just about slid a piece of paper between the front bonnet and the rear of this car. And this was the point where I was like, has everybody lost their fucking minds? And I went weapons grade nuclear because I've got a car on the left who, I don't know, skipped learning to drive and decided to head out on the roads in a monstrously huge vehicle. And then I've got another rather large vehicle who's decided, I know how to get places, just swerving between lanes whilst not recognising that other cars exist. And the thing was that they then persisted to do this all the way down the street we were travelling down. And I'm like, what is happening? What is even going on here? But it was clearly the straw that broke the camel's back because I went weapons grade nuclear. Yeah. All the while going, this is absolutely to do with how I feel about I was about to say about my children going to school. That's not it. It's a much deeper issue than my children going to school. It's a much deeper issue than them changing years and things like that. It would be probably on the lines of like an 8-hour podcast to actually go through it and break it all down. And obviously I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah, we're at like week 2, day 1, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't really working for me. To the point that I was like, when's the next holiday? That was my conversation for today. Something that has happened. I'm going to try to get through this without laughing because it's not. The subject itself isn't funny, but what came off the back of it was my youngest daughter, character that she is, came home from school one day last week, and she's been home a while, and I've been doing a series of different jobs trying to get stuff sorted, I had like tea to make, drinks to make. I was just trying to do a load of jobs all at once. And I managed to get all of those done. No sign of any of my children at this point in time. And I was like, oh, I've got like some, what I would say is personal jobs. But what I mean is like, I need to do my inhalers, my hay fever spray, X number of jobs that are in a different room. So I go from one room to another room and discover my youngest daughter has done something that she shouldn't have done. And I am like, oh, it's game on. Oh, it's daddy time. And I'm like calling for her and she's like, yeah, what? And I'm like, don't you what me? I'll bounce your head off the wall. Come here now. So she comes and I was like, what have you done? And she's like, oh, yeah. Now, because of a variety of different factors right now, I am wildly overreacting as a parent and wildly underreacting to compensate. And I'm desperately trying to find this balance. And it's things like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done this. It's the absolute end of the world. It's the worst possible thing you could have done. Why did you breathe near me? Versus, yeah, it's like, it's an hour and a half past her bedtime, but she can stay up, can't she? And not finding anything in the middle, and desperately trying to find something in the middle. Like it's like, yeah, she's got a handgun, but it's only got 3 bullets in it. Come on, live a little. But like I say, I'm wildly aware of this. So there was this situation. So I'm like, this is not okay. This situation is not good. And I'm like, I don't want to cause a problem. I don't want to cause an issue. I don't want to cause issues further down the line for her. So I don't want to go too far with this. So I'm like, look, this is not okay. You've done something that's not good. I'm not saying it's necessarily naughty. I'm saying, you just need to keep me in the loop with stuff. And I was trying to be firm but fair. That's what I was trying to do. Firm but fair. My daughter, angel that she is, in the middle of me going like, look, I really need you to know that, in future, just let me know, and we can deal with it together, and all of this just fires off. She starts like, I need the way to, so hold your left hand out. Do karate chop with the right hand into the left hand. Can you hear that sound? So that's the hand action she's doing. She does the hand action and starts saying, I know. So picture this. She's doing the hand action with, I know. This was the exact moment in time that I absolutely lost it. Now I'm trying to be the good parent. I'm trying to be the parent that is I'm doing the discipline, but I'm trying to be fair, and I don't want to, I don't want to adversely affect her for any reason. So I'm locked in. I'm in the zone. She fires this off, and I, in true parenting wisdom style, absolutely cracked and started laughing. The problem was, it was so much of a surprise, so much of a shock, and I'm trying to hold on to the reins for dear life. The only solution I had at this point in time was to cover my entire face with both hands and make out that I was so like exasperated with what had happened, and cover the fact that behind my hands I am crying with laughter. I am just like, this fucking guy, man. What has she just thrown out here? I am creased up. Now, this has gone on long enough that I'm now just stood with my hands on my face. So I'm like, oh no, she's now going to get aware that something's not right. And I'm surprised that she didn't clock that I'd laughed before having to go. So what I did was I brought my hands down to, I'm doing it now, to cheek level, still covering my mouth because I'm still laughing, desperately rubbing my face to try and stop the laugh. So here is the most inspired thing I could come up with. With my hands over my mouth like this, I went, darling, right now this is big, and I need for us to wait for Mummy to get home so that me and Mummy can have a conversation about this to see what's best to do in this situation, because I don't want to make the wrong decision here, and I want this to be okay for everybody involved. I'm trying not to think about what she was doing with the hands and I know. Trying not to think about it. I did let out another laugh. I was like, I am going to let you go. I.e., you need to get away from me so I can have a proper life. I need you can go, but this is not over. Okay? So you can go now, but we're going to come back to this and deal with this later. She wanders off. I have a little chuckle. And then I have to relay the story to Leanne later on, and I am creased up. And then I sent Leanne off to deal to deal with it, and she was like, don't do that in the future. And my daughter was like, okay, I won't. I'm like, there we go, parenting at its finest. One of the things about all of these school changes is my daughter's gone to a different school, my eldest, and she was very excited because she's getting a uniform. Now, school that she's gone from has a uniform. A little bit loosey-goosey. You know, it's like, if you can get one of these, great. Otherwise, just get something close to it, sort of thing. None of the children are exactly matching, etc. So she was excited to get a full-blown uniform, an actual uniform. And she was talking about getting a blazer. And I'm like, all I could think is like, when I was at school, there was one child in our school that wore a blazer, and that child was bullied mercilessly for 5 years because of it. However, the thing is that she was going to a school with a blazer, so there we go. So, she turns up. She comes through the door, and it was like somebody punched me in the heart. I was like, oh my God, look how grown up she is. She had the blazer, she had the shirt, she had the tie, the skirt. I was like, oh wow, so grown up. And like everything, like she had her hair done nice, she had like all of these things. She looked so grown up, like, I've always been kind of like, I'm one of those people. I like to dress up. I like to wear a suit. I like to look nice. I don't ever do it. I am at an age now where if I'm wearing a suit, chances are someone's died or I'm stood in a courtroom. So although I like to dress up, dress nice, wear a suit, whatever, never do it. So she comes in, and I was like, look, she's so grown up. I felt pride. I was like, oh, bless, look. And then she's like, right, I'm going to go and get changed. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. You don't want to, it's a very white shirt. You don't want to get any tea on your blazer or your tie. It's a really good idea to go and get changed. So she goes, and that's it. She's gone. Between 5 and 10 minutes later, she re-emerges, and she's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, looking exactly the way she did like the week before. And I was like, yeah, there we go. What a difference. Almost like a costume change. She went from Clark Kent to yeah. So I've lost all this weight recently. I feel really mixed about it. And the mixed that I feel is, obviously it wasn't easy. It was a considerable amount of weight to lose. I feel like, I feel better about it. I feel I look better. I look like I've lost the weight. And then on the other side of things, I am very much in the camp of, well, I need to lose more. I need to lose another stone to get to another sort of milestone. And, I have this sort of, this weird thing where some days I'm like eating next to nothing and don't lose any weight or put weight on, and then the next day I'm like, well, if I didn't eat anything and I didn't lose any weight, then maybe I should eat more today and see if that does it. And I eat more and then lose weight, and it's very sort of all over the place. However, something that has come up, interestingly enough, other than the one person that knew that I was going through this sort of weight loss journey, to call it that, other than that person who's made comment saying, oh, you've lost weight, and oh, look at this, and oh, look at that, and all that sort of stuff. Other than that, nobody has said anything. No, nobody, not a single person. Nobody has said anything about it. And there's a part of me that's a bit like, well, it's a tricky subject. It's a difficult subject. I don't imagine that people are out there running up to people and going, hey, have you lost weight? For that person to turn around and go, no. Or, hey, have you lost weight? You look different. There's something about you that looks different. Yeah, I've put on 3 stone. Those are the things you don't want. But I keep doing this thing where, I keep looking in the mirror and being like, do I not look like I've lost over a stone? And I'm like, yes. Yes, I look like I've lost weight. Not all of it, but certainly, a stone. And I'm a bit like, I kind of feel like I need a passing, oh, you look well. You're looking well. Have you lost a little bit of weight recently? I feel like I need one of those. So I can be like, oh yeah, I did this sort of crazy water fast for 2 weeks and lost a load of weight, and part of me was, this is how bad this sort of stuff is. Part of me was a bit like, I feel a little bit like I kind of want to drop it into conversation with people, but at the same time, I'm like, you can't do that. You can't just be like, oh, yes, because I've lost quite a bit of weight recently. I was like, but why? But why has nobody noticed? Just sad times, I'm afraid. Speaking of weight, no, that was a terrible transition. So I've been doing a lot of baking and cooking and like trying to get Leanne on board the train of like, hey, you can cook really nice meals, and they can be like low calorie, and if you make like stuff that's fresh, and you can eliminate like hidden calories and stuff. I mean, if you just go like for her being a meat eater, like you just go like real sort of lean meats, and stuff like that, and it really worked for you. And eventually, finally, she sort of she got on board, and she was like, actually, yeah, give it a whirl. And I sort of did a few things and tried a few things, and I think they sort of resonated. And next thing, she's like, oh, I found this recipe. What do you think of this? I'm like, that's a banging recipe. I'll make that for you this evening, sort of thing. So she's lost X amount of weight, and I've lost X amount of weight, and the danger zone for both of us is entering the weekend. Days gone by, Saturday was a big night for me, and up until like the last month, it still was. Previously, it used to be a Thursday. If you ask me why, I couldn't tell you right at this point in time, but there was a reason for it. It was always a Thursday. I think that one goes back many years. But the thing is that the weekend is a danger zone. And ultimately, there was a point in time where I would basically eat nothing all day Saturday, have a cheat meal Saturday night, eat nothing all day Sunday, weigh in on Monday, and cross my fingers. That hasn't been the case for the last few weeks. So I said to Leanne, oh, you should have some sort of treat. And what I'd been thinking was you should have a homemade pizza. Like, basically, it's not going to be as bad as a takeaway pizza or even a bought pizza, because it's all going to be fresh made and there's not going to be the additional things that are put into it. But it's not going to be the best possible thing you could eat. So you're going to be in that real middle ground. It's definitely going to be a treat. What do you think? She's like, yeah, I'm on board. Sounds great. So there's me frantically looking for like the best possible homemade pizza recipe, and like watching all these sorts of videos. I've recently stumbled across a new cooking video person. So I YouTubed their name with pizza, and there was like a multitude of videos like, do you want to do a 72-hour dough, or do you want to do a 1 hour? I'm like, have you got one in the middle? So here we go. I get a combination of what is supposed to be the best homemade pizza recipe, and then I watched a shit ton of videos. And I then said, I now feel that I have the tools required to make the greatest homemade pizza. There are a couple of issues with this. One, I don't have the best track record with homemade pizza. Many moons ago, I used to make homemade pizza for my children. But I used to get my dough from a bread machine. And it was this super sort of easy method. You just chuck the ingredients in and turn the machine on and said, I want pizza dough. And it made it for you. You pop your pizza dough out, bang it on a tray, and add the things that you want to it. Job done. And they were pretty good. I then used the same technique to make pizza elsewhere, for it was like a party situation. Again, pretty good. I was like, well, if one of these methods works, why would it be different if I remove the machine from the process and just do it all from scratch by hand? That is exactly where it started going wrong. I couldn't get the dough right. I couldn't get the process right. I could not make it happen. In hindsight, I do think that there was a large... there was an element that some of the ingredients I used weren't right. And there was also an element that I don't think I used some of the ingredients right. However, that was the end of my homemade pizza journey. And it's something that kind of bugged me, but at the same time I was like, well, I can't do it. So there. That was the best part of 10 years ago. So, like with a lot of things like this, it was time to come out of retirement. Time to give it another go. So, knowing where I've gone wrong in the past, time to correct those mistakes. So I got the right ingredients to start with. And I, like I say, got this recipe, watched a load of videos. And I felt ready. I was like, I know if I follow these instructions and this recipe to the letter, I'm going to get a good result. One problem down. Problem number 2. And not so much a problem as... Okay, let's put it this way. I can see both sides of the argument. So Leanne's like, oh, well, what are you doing? I'm making a pizza. Yeah, but, it's a treat, isn't it? Yes. So what are you putting on it? Very little. Oh, no, that's not going to work. You need 9 different cheeses on there. I was like, okay, but the recipe doesn't call for that, and the instructions don't call for that, and the videos I've watched don't call for that. That could cause problems. Well, what about this? I was like, I can do that, but that's not the recipe. It's not the video. It's not the instructions. I don't think it's going to work. It'll be fine. You'll sort it. Yeah, that sounds like a thing. So, I set about making a stuffed crust pizza and stuffed crust garlic bread. I used a little bit of my own know-how and was like, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make what I would refer to as like a garlic bread, garlic butter, and then spread that onto a pizza base, creating a stuffed crust garlic bread. Ultimately, it's going to come as no surprise to anyone that they were both a bit of a disaster. I managed to put a hole in the garlic bread dough, so all of the juice just escaped. So there was that. And then the pizza had so much cheese and moisture and everything that you didn't want for this recipe that it just turned into it was a pizza pie, but that's not what I was going for. So that was that. Leanne ate it. She said it was great, and I was like, wasn't though, was it? So I then started going through. I was like, look, that recipe wasn't designed for that. The videos I watched didn't cover any of the stuff that you were asking for, so I don't think I don't think it was right. I wanted a do-over at this point. I was like, I feel like I've been robbed here. How can you get a do-over when you've just fed someone essentially 2 pizzas? Because you know what that person's not going to want? Pizza. If only there was another outlet for pizza. Enter a series of children. So I'm like, hey, do you want pizza for tea? Yeah. Like, do you want me to make you a pizza for tea? Yeah. Sold. So, repeat certain ingredients that needed replacing. And this time, I was like, right, I am going to make the pizza I should have made yesterday. I'm going to make it exactly the way the recipe says and exactly the way the video showed me. And I am going to show you that without intervention, you can have a glorious pizza. I followed the recipe to the T. I rewatched certain bits of certain videos to make the perfect dough balls. I put them in the fridge for several hours. I am flying at this point. I get my tray. I've got my oven nice and warm. I press out my dough into the perfect pizza-shaped dough. I am like, this is amazing. I use my homemade pizza sauce on the base. Not too little, not too much. Fire off my drained over several hours mozzarella, and then just a light sprinkle of cheese. In the oven she goes. Took a picture of it before I went in. I was like, it looks pretty good. I think I've done it. I think it's right. Put it in the oven. Cooked it up. It took a little bit longer than I liked. I ended up turning the oven up a bit more than the recipe said, and that seemed to like bring it home. It was looking real wet halfway through the process, but then that moisture seemed to disappear, basically. And what I took out of the oven was basically, and this is not me tooting my horn, not me, not any of that. Honestly, I was like, that pizza is perfect. It's you know, you should be photographing it from a homemade perspective, from a not so much a disaster, but not what I wanted from the day before, and a sketchy track record with making homemade pizza. I was buzzing. There's a problem. And the problem goes like this. I may have bigged up this pizza to Leanne. I was like, this pizza looks amazing. I think it's really good. If you'd have let me make this for you yesterday, you could have been enjoying this amazing pizza. But let's face it, the kids aren't going to like it, so you'll get to have some. Don't you worry, Petal. Everything's going to be fine. The big dog's got you. I have delivered the finest pizza you're ever going to taste, homemade and blah, 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 blah. It just went on. I wasn't being a dick. I wasn't being big. I wasn't being full of myself. I was just so ecstatic that I'd done it. I'd made what I set out to, and for all I could work out, it was going to be a good. That's all I wanted. I just wanted the people that I made it for to enjoy it. I cut the pizza in half. I cut it into quarters. I cut the half into 2 quarters, and I cut one of the 2 quarters into 8, and then I cut those again. So I've got these slithers of pizza. Put 2 on my daughter's plate. I put 1 on my son's plate. I'm like, banging. I picked the tray up, I turned around to put it in the oven, and I dropped it on the floor, face down. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? My daughter said to me today, the first thing she said to me this evening was, Daddy, I was telling my friends at school today about you dropping the pizza. It's like, yeah? That's good. About 2 whole minutes after dropping it, I lifted the tray, lifted the pieces. The entire topping was stuck to the floor. And ultimately what we had was 3 slithers of pizza that were serviceable. And ultimately the rest was going to have to go in the bin. I was like, it's okay because they're not going to like it anyway. So it doesn't really matter, does it? Pop the plates on the table. By the time I'd come back from cleaning up the mess, my daughter had eaten her pizza, going, that pizza was amazing, I absolutely loved it, best pizza I've ever had. And I was like, you son of a gun. That, ladies and gents, is my life to a T. If ever there is going to be a story of my life, it's that story that I just told. That story is everything. Final thing for the week before we move on to the entertainment stuff. A little bit of weight loss stuff. I lost all that weight. Fully expected I would put weight back on, which I did. I put on 4 pounds, I think, at the very maximum. Kind of expected. I was also, it was also expected because it was kind of intentional. Again, would take another very long podcast for me to explain the ins and outs of the crazy brain. So, over the course of a few days, that weight then started coming off, which I thought was interesting. I actually thought the weight would have stayed on, and I was actually expecting another couple of pounds. As it was, by the time I weighed myself, I can tell you when it was. By the time I weighed myself, day before yesterday, I was the joint lowest. So had basically managed to get back to the lowest point in a series of days. As of today, 1 pound lighter than I was a week ago. And 0.2 pounds heavier than my lightest weight. Lightest weight for 6-7 years, something like that. So, goal number 2 achieved. Goal number 1, lose a big load of weight. Goal number 2, keep it off naturally is kind of what I'm calling it at the moment. So, not quite moving into phase 3 just yet. I need to see how the next few days go, just to see what the plan is from here, because the last week with the weight sort of fluctuating up and down, the down is the interesting bit. Sorry, I had to go and see why my cat decided that he needed to kill the other one, which has ultimately meant that I've lost my train of thought track. I know I was talking about weight and where we're at phase wise. Yes, no, that's what I was saying. Because of the loss, putting on 4 pounds, but then losing 4 pounds over the course of the week. Obviously, the next question is, well, if you can do that in a week, can you take it further? Naturally. I say naturally in the loosest terms. Might put another week. Certainly another few days. We'll see. I'll keep you updated this time next week. So there's that. Okay, let's talk about some entertainment stuff. You know something? I haven't written it down. I don't think I've got any TV stuff to talk about. As far as movies are concerned, the problem I've got is I am watching a 3-hour movie in half-hour chunks. So, as far as movies are concerned, there's no, at this point in time, update. Also, film I'm watching is a little bit problematic for me. Because there's a lot I like about it, but there is equally a lot I don't like about it, and I really don't like about it. So issues there, but we'll talk about it. Probably it will almost definitely be next week. So I bought a game. I know, right? Not like me. Anyway, I bought a game. I bought an early access game because I saw a video of somebody playing a VR game called Zona VR, and it's Z.O.N.A VR. I believe that this is a sequel to an original project, and it's another one of those that's been made by one developer. It's early access, so, you know, bugs and things not quite working the way they're supposed to, but early videos suggested almost identical to Into the Radius, but a lot of mention of Stalker. I've tried to play Stalker, and it was basically impossible. It was just too hard. Also, some of the controls were just... It was definitely something that was showing its age. I believe there is due to be a remake soon. If not already, it might have already been released. But the version I played was, in a way, unplayable. Anyway, I bought it. It was reduced because it was early access. Not as cheap as I'd seen it a few days earlier. But we're talking like a couple of pounds, and I was like, early access, etc. I'll give you the extra £2. Initial reports were it was very much like Into the Radius or Into the Radius 2. For a individual one-person development team, amazing. Has anomalies like Into the Radius, and they look awesome. They work slightly differently to Into the Radius, and if I'm honest, I kind of preferred them. I kind of liked the concept, especially in Into the Radius 2. The anomalies just... You can affect them, but you can't do anything about them. Whereas you sort of could in the first one. This one goes more down that route. You can do something about the anomalies in this game, which I really liked. And the sort of tutorial and the intro to the game in the first few levels, really enjoyable. However, and I hate to get to the howevers this early, but straight away there were a couple of issues, and they were glaring issues. Now, again, I can't stress enough, this game is early access, and I accept that. I kind of signed the contract when I gave them the money that I accept it is early access. However, when making a game, I feel targeting the core, the key elements of the game it's probably a really good idea. So when the shooting is way off, like absolutely no point in looking down the sights because that's going to do fuck all. Immediately you're like, this ain't going to go well if the shooting's off. Something that I can excuse, this is going to sound weird, but I can excuse the shooting. I imagine it's a mechanic that's really hard to get right. So again, we signed the early access agreement. So, you know, something that instantly started to wind me up, and I never got any less wound up by it. A lot of sort of VR shooting games with multiple weapons allow you to put a gun behind your back. It's usually over your right shoulder. Job done. This game allows you to put something over your right shoulder. However, the mechanic doesn't work. I have dropped an AK-47 about 5,000 times. So in the end, I just ended up carrying it around or sticking it on the rucksack. I got stuck on a level. The game has no instructional sort of help past a certain point. You do a tutorial and then you're kind of left to your own devices. That was super unhelpful when I then went to do a mission and had no idea where to go or what to do. Had to watch a video on YouTube to find out the answer and was like, honestly, I don't think I've ever found that on my own. It took me a couple of attempts to sort of go through this mission, this level, this whatever. And I started sort of really enjoying it. Just sort of marveling at what people can achieve. Obviously, I did very similar with a game called Convergence. And unfortunately, the early access element was what became the thing that let it down. And I was like, do you know something? I'm prepared to put this on a shelf for now and come back to it later, because I reckon in, 6 months to a year time, I reckon this game is going to be awesome. For Zona VR, that is also my feeling with this one. It's got all the makings of a great game. It's just very early access. It needs a little bit more time in the oven, and it needs a bit more polish, which is fine. That's all okay. I'll give you £14 for you to work on this game over the next year. That's what the early access said. It said it's going to be a year. I'm happy to get in on the ground floor of something like this. No problems. I exited out into this very open area and was like, without something to tell me where to go or what to do, I feel wandering around this area aimlessly is not productive. So that was kind of the point where I saved it, turned it off with the I'll come back to this later. A couple of days later, there was a notification on Steam that there'd been an update for the game, and I was like, oh, here we go. This looks good. And I read the update was, you can now crouch. Okay, cool. This one's going to be a slow burn. So I'll probably just check in like every 2 or 3 updates, I think, to see where it's at. Certainly very impressive, and certainly has the makings of a great game. Just needs more time in the oven. Speaking of Into the Radius 2, finished it for the second time. Swore that I was going to sort of give this one more time in its early access, because yes, it is still an early access game. And then a day later started my third playthrough. For this playthrough, I've decided to try some different things. So I'm going with like minimal weapon builds. I'm not going in with the big boy weapons. I'm going in with like mid-range weapons and just kind of seeing how far I can get. Honestly, there was a couple of levels I was like, oh, I'll do this and then level up, and then didn't, and was like, has that changed? The biggest issue at this point in time is I am absolutely desperate for the new content. The developers released a dev diary saying what the next update would have, and I was like, that sounds amazing. Let's do that now. And yet, still no sign. They are promising 2 updates this year before the end of the year. Unfortunately, one of those updates is not going to be any new areas, which I feel is a bold choice. Because they'll have been through like 6 months, nearly, of their, what you would have thought would be a year early access. But who knows? I think we'll see on that one. I've had another game on the go. Interesting story about this one. I joined the Humble Choice because it was cheap for the rest of the year. And as myself and Sam always say, if you get one good game out of it, and you paid £6 for 8 or 9 games, you're just winning by the numbers. It's just as simple as that. You'll always have something to play. And, you know, I would say 30 to 40% of the games that you get through the Humble Choice are good games. I'd considered taking the Humble Choice out the month before I did. And typically, there was one game in that month that I was like, man, I wish I'd have really got that. Again, I spoke to Sam about it. I was like, I don't suppose you've got a code for that game going spare? And he was like, funnily you should say that. No, because somebody else has already asked me for it. I was like, I'll look at buying it because it looks like a really fun one for the kids. When I looked at buying it, it was really expensive on all platforms. And I'm like, oh man, I've proper missed an opportunity here. A few days ago, I got a notification thing through one of the things that I use to sort of check on cheap games and things, saying that I could buy this game for $2.99 on Steam. And I was like, hells yeah. So I bought the game 2K Drive, which is a Lego game. I have very mixed feelings about Lego games, but this was a Lego driving game, and I went, somebody's been playing The Crew, I believe it was, but from 2 onwards, where you can go plane or boat or car, because when you drive the Lego vehicles, if you drive like your street car off-road, it turns into an off-road vehicle. And if you then drive it into the water, it turns into a boat. Funsies. So I'll get this. Kids will love it. Bought it, installed it. And then I've been having an absolute wild time playing the game myself. Hold my hands up on this one. My daughter has played and has enjoyed. However, I have also played the majority of it up to this point. She hasn't done any missions or races or anything, whereas I definitely have. I don't even know how to say this any other way than lots of fun. And that is an understatement. Loads of fun, this one. I've unlocked a series of cars. I've unlocked a series of sort of people. I got stuck on some levels, and then I found a way to do them, and it's just been an absolute blast. Honestly, like TV and film and other sort of games, it's just nice to play something and have some fun for once. Where did all the fun go? Finally, and again, speaking of fun, I've been putting a bit of time into Immortals of Avium. I actually feel sad when I play this game because I'm like, this game absolutely did not get the justice it deserved. I know it's not the best game ever made. I know it's not absolutely amazing, but honestly, this is a solid 7 to 7.5 to 8 out of 10 game, and I will take your hand off for a 7 out of 10 game. All day, every day. This game is beautiful. I can't stress that enough. The multitude of different places and areas and things you go to. The fact that you can walk out of a building and it's snowing because you're in like snowy mountains, and then the next thing you're surrounded by crystals and you're in caverns and all the different types of enemies, you know, something that a lot of games don't do. I'm just like, this game is good. Something that has happened recently is the game has got quite difficult. Not a fan, personally. You know me, I like my games easy. And it has got quite difficult, and I mean like dying multiple times at the same bit kind of difficult. Not a fan, but do seem to keep playing, so, you know, maybe it's the game. I thought I'd maybe finished it, or I certainly got close to finishing it, and I still do sort of get back end of the game vibes, definitely from a story perspective. So do kind of think if it's not too difficult, I will get it finished fairly soon. So yes, I'll keep you updated on that. And that is that. There we go. That is the podcast for this week. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Where do they go? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you want to help the podcast out at all, or if you just want to keep on with the updates, like, share, subscribe, comment. Those are the big ones. Leave a review. That's also a big one. And check out the website, thecookiecast.com. Then we've got social media links and an email button. And that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to this episode of CookieCast.